He wasn't causing trouble. Malik was just walking home, his sketchbook full of dreams tucked under his arm. But a single shout from a police officer turned his world upside down. In moments, his artwork was scattered on the pavement, and his hands were forced behind his back. No one realized who Malik really was, until the truth shook the entire city. Keep watching, because this story will change how you see justice. It was supposed to be a normal Saturday afternoon. Malik, a 17-year-old art prodigy, had just left a downtown youth art exhibit where one of his paintings, a portrait of his late grandmother, had received a standing ovation. His hoodie still carried faint specks of charcoal, and his sketchbook, filled with drawings of city life and hope, was tucked safely under his arm. He walked home with quiet pride, headphones in, humming to the rhythm of the city he loved. To most people, Malik was just another kid from the South Side, soft-spoken, polite, and always lost in his art. But those who really knew him understood he was different. The kind of young man who turned pain into beauty, who used his sketches to capture the reality others chose to ignore. His teachers called him gifted. His mother called him grounded. And the mayor, well, he called him son. No one outside their family knew that connection. Malik's father, Mayor Richard Lawson, had raised him to stay humble, to live a normal life away from the spotlight. No private security, no privileges, just a teenager chasing his dreams like anyone else. But that decision, meant to protect him, would soon put Malik in the direct path of something darker than anyone imagined. As he turned onto Magnolia Avenue, the air felt heavier, the street unusually quiet. A patrol car idled at the corner, its headlights piercing through the fading daylight. Malik didn't think much of it. He'd done nothing wrong, just art supplies in his backpack, earbuds in his ears, and peace in his heart. But sometimes, it doesn't take guilt to be seen as a threat. Sometimes all it takes is the color of your skin and the wrong person behind the badge. The wind picked up as Malik crossed the intersection, his sketchbook pressed tightly to his chest. The street was quiet, too quiet for a Saturday. He could hear the low rumble of an idling engine behind him, the kind of sound that makes your stomach twist for reasons you can't explain. A patrol car had slowed down, matching his pace. Malik kept walking, earbuds in, pretending not to notice. But the car crept closer. A sudden flash of red and blue cut through the afternoon light. His heart skipped. He pulled out one earbud, just in case. Then came the voice, "Hey! You stop right there!" He froze. The command carried weight, not of law but of threat. Malik turned slowly, hands visible, remembering every lesson his father had ever taught him about staying calm during police encounters. The officer stepped out, hand on his belt, eyes locked on Malik's hoodie. "What's in the bag?" "Art supplies," Malik said softly. "Just pencils and paper." The officer didn't answer. He just moved closer, circling like a predator assessing prey. "Empty it," he ordered. Malik unzipped his backpack and placed it on the hood of the patrol car, careful not to make sudden moves. Sketchbooks, pencils, charcoal sticks, all spilled out, black dust marking the white hood like evidence of something sinister. Another patrol car pulled up. Two more officers stepped out. Malik's pulse quickened. He could feel eyes on him now, neighbors looking from their porches, phones lifted, recording. "Look at that," one officer muttered. "Spray cans, huh?" "They're markers," Malik replied quickly. "For shading," but his words barely mattered. One of the officers shoved him forward, face pressed against the cold metal of the car. His sketchbook fell to the ground, pages scattering in the wind, drawings of city skylines, portraits of families, the faces of everyday people. One drawing, a young black boy holding a sign that said, "Justice lives here," stopped against the officer's boot. The man smirked and ground it beneath his heel. Malik felt anger rise in his chest, but fear held it down. He'd seen videos like this before. He just never imagined he'd be in one. The first officer pulled out a small plastic bag from his pocket, pretending to find it beneath the car. "Well, well," he said loud enough for the crowd. "Looks like we've got ourselves a little street dealer." Malik's heart dropped. "That's not mine," he protested, his voice trembling. "Please, you can check the bag. Shut up," the officer barked, shoving him to his knees. Gasps rippled through the onlookers. A few people started shouting, "He didn't do anything." Others filmed silently, afraid to intervene. One woman stepped forward, her voice shaking. "That's Malik Lawson. He's the mayor's boy." The officers froze for half a second. Then the first one laughed nervously. "Yeah, right. The mayor's kid walking around here like this? Nice try." But whispers spread fast. Within moments, the crowd began murmuring, disbelief turning into outrage. One man yelled, "You better check that name before you ruin your career." The officers exchanged glances. The air shifted, authority trembling under the weight of truth. Malik looked up through tears, his face bruised, his dignity shattered. Sirens wailed in the distance, different this time, deeper, heavier, city vehicles, and for the first time, the officers seemed uncertain. Because when power meets privilege, even injustice hesitates. The second car stopped. Doors opened, and the last person those officers expected to see stepped out. Someone whose face was on every billboard in the city. Mayor Richard Lawson had arrived. The mayor's car screeched to a stop, its siren cutting through the chaos like a blade. For a split second, the officers froze, confused by the sudden appearance of the black SUV with city emblems glinting under the sunlight. Then the door swung open, and Mayor Richard Lawson stepped out, his expression unreadable, but his eyes sharp with fury. The crowd parted instinctively. Cameras zoomed in. The same people who'd been filming Malik's humiliation were now witnessing the power shift in real time. Mayor Lawson didn't shout. He didn't need to. His voice, low and steady, carried more authority than the flashing badges around him. "Get your hands off my son!" The officer's hand hesitated mid-air. The words hit like a thunderclap. Gasps rippled through the onlookers, and even the boldest officer took a step back. But Malik still knelt on the concrete, cuffs biting into his wrists, charcoal dust smeared across his face like war paint. Tears welled in his eyes as he looked up, unsure if what he was seeing was real. "Dad," he whispered. Richard's jaw tightened as he saw the bruises, the ripped hoodie, the crushed artwork scattered like evidence of a crime that never existed. "You planted evidence on my son," the mayor said, voice trembling with controlled rage. "In front of half the city. Do you realize what you've just done?" The lead officer stammered, "Sir, we didn't." He matched a description. "Don't lie to me." The mayor stepped closer until their faces were inches apart. "I'll make sure your badge doesn't survive the night." The cameras kept rolling. The crowd's silence turned into whispers, then shouts of anger, disbelief, and finally, unity. For the first time, the officers looked trapped. Every movement, every cruel word they'd said, now documented by dozens of phones, and the truth was no longer in their control. As the mayor knelt beside Malik, unclipping the handcuffs with shaking hands, he whispered something that would echo through every news station in America. They thought they were breaking a boy, but what they really broke was the illusion of justice. The world was about to watch everything change. The footage spread across social media within hours, millions of views, endless comments, and a city divided between disbelief and outrage. The image of Malik Lawson, the mayor's son, bruised and handcuffed on the sidewalk, became impossible to ignore. News anchors debated, politicians scrambled for statements, and the police department launched an internal investigation. But for Malik, none of it could undo what had happened. He stayed silent through the first press conference, his sketchbook still stained with dirt from that day. When he finally spoke, it wasn't with anger. It was with conviction. He said he wasn't there as the mayor's son. He was there as every black teen who had ever been judged, humiliated, or feared for no reason other than the color of their skin. The officers involved were suspended, then charged after the body cam, and bystander footage confirmed what everyone had already seen. But Malik's pain wasn't about punishment. It was about truth. He returned to his art, creating a powerful painting titled The Weight of Silence. It showed a young black boy on his knees, surrounded by faceless figures with badges, while a city watched from the shadows. That painting now hangs in the City Hall lobby, a reminder of the day justice was caught on camera. Mayor Lawson pushed through sweeping reforms, mandatory body cameras, bias training, and a community oversight board with real authority. But even as progress came, Malik knew the change wasn't finished. Because he also knew, if his last name hadn't been Lawson, the story might have ended very differently. So he began speaking at schools, community centers, and youth programs, telling his story not as a victim, but as a survivor. "I wasn't lucky because my father was powerful," he'd say. "I was lucky because someone recorded it." And maybe that's the truth we all need to face. Justice shouldn't depend on privilege, fame, or a viral video. The question is, how many more Malik Lawsons will it take before the system changes for everyone? Don't miss more powerful real-life stories. Hit subscribe now.